Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited you can be here. Today, we're talking about how to exit your business really the right way, actually, how to exit your business on your terms. So, we're actually going to talk about building your company to exit and the things you need to know to basically systemize and to be able to sell the business on your own terms. Look, what you do right now will determine how much money you're exiting for. And if you're like me and a lot of the rest of us entrepreneurs, then your exit and what you exit for, that's your retirement, that's your everything, right? We're working towards that purpose. But here's the thing, and here's what's interesting. I have a lot of friends that exited. As a matter of fact, one of my really good friends just exited a business for multiple nine figures. And I can tell you the one thing that 100% of them have in common is that they all wish they knew things when they were building the business that they didn't know until after they exited. They all felt like they left millions or tens of millions of
Mm,
dollars on the
mm,
table. So
mm.
what you're doing now is going to determine how much money your business is worth when you exit, and we are going to make it worth the maximum value in today's interview. So with us today is Jason Sisneros. Now, Jason is a battle-tested CEO and business strategist known as the architect for his unique ability to systemize, scale, and also turn around companies for maximum cash flow or exit. Now, he's worked with Fortune 500 giants like Nike, Comcast, Microsoft, and has led the successful turnaround of over 100 small to mid cap companies. Renowned for his leadership expertise, Jason has delivered over 3,000 presentations and was a top speaker for Tony Robbins as well. Now, his entrepreneurial journey wasn't without setbacks. Jason actually has lost three businesses and filed for bankruptcy as well. Instead of quitting, though, he spent 6 years learning directly from the world's top business minds, filling notebooks with proven systems and strategies. Now he applies that knowledge to rescue a failing cleaning business, turning into a multi-million dollar exit used without would not become what it was without the B2X system. So the single turnaround sparked a 20-year career helping entrepreneurs build scalable, sellable companies. And with decades of experience, dozens of personal exits, and countless consulting wins, Jason now offers the B2X system, a complete operating blueprint for entrepreneurs ready to scale and succeed. Jason, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us today.
Wow, look at that intro, man. I'm gonna
I'll
I know
tell
you
you,
make a lot of money and you're high price, but I'd love to have you do that every time. I might just like clip that and throw it on the beginning of my show from now on.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
great
man, I
voice,
tripped up a
great.
little bit, but you've done some really, really, really good stuff.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you. And so have you. And that's why I was excited about this conversation and your audience and as you mentioned in the very beginning, like there's you have to have a passion for the people that do what we do. It's small and mid cap, right? That's my that's kind of my family as I look at it. And that's why I was excited for this conversation. You've added so much value through your podcast and through your advice and the books that you've written. So thanks for having me on. I'm honored to be here.
I appreciate it, Jason. It's an honor to have you on here. A lot of businesses fail. You're a turnaround specialist and expert. So, what do you find are some of the most common reasons that businesses are failing when you come into them that you're able to turn them around with your B2X system?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I learned what not to do in business by screwing them up myself. And that was when you talk about those three bankruptcies, it's like I get a little PTSD because I'm like, man, I remember those days. It was one after the other after the other. It was like they kind of all sort of fell together. And I look back on those times where I had a lot of enthusiasm, and this you'll recognize this in a lot of entrepreneurs. We have this we have this thing inside of us where there's no more. It's about 10% of the world population ever becomes what's called a merchant. Right nowadays, it's entrepreneur, business owner, whatever. But there's only about 10% of the world that has the DNA that tells us in our unconscious mind that we can't not be business owners. We have to control our own destiny, come hell or high water. And so we're built a little bit differently. I heard that from Mark Anderson. He said, you can't not be an entrepreneur if that's who you are. And so, then you get into it. There's not a lot of education. There's a lot of scam artists and gurus and, people who are trying to tell you how to build a business, but experience is really the best teacher when it comes to business. And then you find along the way, one of my mentors is Keith Cunningham, and he was the Rich Dad and the Rich Dad Poor Dad books. That was those stories were written about. He was the guy, and I was fortunate to be mentored by a man who was amazing at business and also had the skill set to be able to teach, right? And so I look back, and it comes down to, like, you know, where it's become. The circle is built to exit. Our sort of tagline is everybody exits, how matters. And if I just knew that one thing, that one tidbit, like, oh yeah, I'm not taking this business with me when I die. That's number one. Number two, is it going to be for my kids? Am I going to roll? Are they going to take this business over? There's an involuntary exit, which was my first three. Involuntary exit just means you go out of business, and that's not fun, right? It caused a lot of pain in my life. Took me 6 years to recover from it. But that involuntary exit is where most people do. That is the most common by a multitude of numbers for business owners, because it's 90% don't see their 10th birthday. So if I go, oh, everybody exits, now how do I not exit involuntarily? Second kind, which was when I was building back, I was like, oh, I finally built something somebody wanted to buy. And I went into that transaction with somebody who knew exactly what they were doing. Now, this is for your audience, okay? They knew exactly what they were doing, and this was my first time, which is going to be most business owners. You were talking about your friends. That's going to be most business owners. You're going to sell one business in your lifetime, and it's going to be the biggest transaction, hopefully, in your life. And you're going to go into it being really good at HVAC, or really good at painting, or really good at whatever it is that you do, but having no clue and having to almost 100% trust the circle of people who are profiting from your life's work. Okay. And so if I would have known that, now I go into what I call a dictated exit. They knew what they were doing. I didn't. I got about half of what I should have for my business. Took me 3 years to get it paid. I had to be there for the entire 3 years. It was a great, at the end of the day, yay, I sold my business, but I got my ass kicked in the transaction. That led me into the next phase, which is kind of what brought us together, which is my custom tailored exit. I was like, I know these people know what they're doing. And now I'm going to start building businesses specifically to their specifications on how they buy. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to be in control of three things. If your audience should be wanting, if they're going to build towards somebody, number one, know that everybody exits, how it matters. Number two, you want to control the price, the timing, and the terms of your exit. And the only way that you can do that is become educated on the process that the greatest business, private equity firms, their strategy and blueprint of how they buy businesses. You learn that, now you're in control because they want what you have. For the most part, private equity drives that conversation because they're talking to somebody inexperienced and super excited to get out of their business with a little bit of money. Another fact, and then I'll shut up and let you talk because it's super important people understand this. 90% of businesses go out of business. And that leaves that 10% that lives beyond 10 years, which means that they're able to be sold. Only 7% of any business, 7 to 12, depending on where you get your information, 7 to 12% of the businesses that are put on the market ever sell. Last factoid for people to understand. 50% of that small little group of people that actually get sold, 50% of those fall apart and get handed back to the business owner after close, post close. That blows me away. Checks are signed, you've got the contract signed, and they go out and they suck it out. We're putting one back together right now this week that was a disaster for these guys. They got a little bit of the money, reputation gone, equipment all sold, best employees lost, customers lost. And now they got it handed back to them because the people who acquired them had no idea how to actually run a business. And that's the epidemic we have today. A bunch of, I just went through acquire my business. Come to my course and learn how to acquire a business. World's full of those people right now, and it's a challenge. So anyway, I said a lot, brother.
No, and I appreciate that. And you touched upon this B2X system that you've created. I think it's broke down into four pillars. Is that right? And if so, can you break down what you found to be the solution to this problem that you're describing?
Yeah, there's four pillars. There's a couple of different four pillar concepts that we have, but I'll tell you the overarching four pillars concept that we have in in this concept is when you are going to get help with your business and you're looking through consultants and you're looking through people to help you and you're looking for that kind of stuff. One of the first things there's four phases that your business is going to go through to get prepared to sell. And one of those is the assessment phase. You have to have some people come in and give you a real true assessment of your business. And that assessment is going to tell you there's two sides of the equation. A lot of people build their business and it's great for cash flow for them. It's paying bills. And they just haven't been able to shift it over into acquiring enterprise value. Two different concepts, but you have to go from cash, the cash and living on it and optimizing it, that assessment, over to turning it into enterprise value, or you never have anything to sell. Okay. And I'll explain that just here for a second. So that assessment phase, bring in some people that can tell you, here's where you're actually at. They should have the second conversation with you, which is, what is your end game, right? What is your end game? And I'll fast forward through all of the psychological psychobabble. But when you get to the end, why you started your business was to create freedom. That's the end of the sentence. I'll just jump to the end of the party, right? That freedom at the end of that game means I've got a house. I can make choices. I can go do stuff with my kids. I can be involved in philanthropy. I can go do whatever, but there's a price tag for that freedom. And you have a business that you're assessing that can be the machine that bridges you to that exit. If you don't have that exit, you're just going to keep going and I'm going to have a bigger house, a bigger car. You're broke at a higher level. So assessment is really, really important, and it must really identify the end game so that you know where you're headed. And then the next piece is what we call foundation. And that's where the four pillars that you've probably seen online that I've kind of gotten known for, which is your culture, your operations, your revenue, and your exit plan. Right. Those are sort of the four pillars of building your company for the exit. But what it also does, the best exit plan is a great continuity plan. Set your business up, that foundational piece of making sure that business is great with your culture, with your operations, with your revenue. And then the last piece of that is building your exit plan. So that is what we call foundational work, just to optimize the business that you actually already own. The third piece of that would be pre-due diligence. And what we call that is running you through the gauntlet. Okay, you've gotten your company, it's humming like a striped ass ape. It's doing really, really well. Now you got to prepare in the gauntlet for what you're about to run through, that pre-due diligence. And this is what I bet you every single one of your friends, if we were to sit down over a tequila, would tell you. I wish I knew about pre-due diligence. I wish I knew about an exit plan. I wish I knew the steps that I could go through to polish my company up, not just because the price of your business is one aspect of it, and getting the maximum dollar for it. That's one thing, but it's almost embarrassing. I know it was for me to sit across from people and have them dig into your business and see every single mistake that you made and rub your nose in it to drop the value that you thought you were going to get out of your business. It's not a fun experience. And they're not doing anything out of spite. They're just good at what they do. And they go, oh, you did this, this, and this. And you tried to cover it up rather than addressing it in pre-due diligence and crafting the story yourself. If you craft the story and put it in front of a buyer, maximum multiple, how much time they're going to have to pay you, the terms, you don't have to stick around for 5 years and hope and, basically pay for your own exit. That puts you in the seat rather than them beating you up, you're going to craft that story. And when they come at you from those angles, you're going to hold firm on the value of the business because you already flushed that out. You already went through a process to anchor that in. And then the fourth piece is obviously due diligence. You enter that due diligence phase with a team that you led because you as the business owner know what you're doing. There's about 37 to 42% of the value of your business will be given away to professionals to help you sell your business. You're going to lose 37 to 42%. That's not even negotiating the price. That's just your lawyer. There's a circle of professionals, which by the way, you actually need, but they take more money out of the transaction because you don't know what you're doing. If you sit down with an investment banker and they're going, well, we're going to do all of this work, right? Or you sit down with your broker or your tax attorney or all these, and they have to teach you everything, it's going to be at a premium price. If you sit down with them and you go, here's my outcome, I've already done all the pre-due diligence stuff, then what the companies that we help sell, it's right around 17%, like 17 to 20% is what it costs them to sell their business as opposed to 37 to 42. And that doesn't even count like again, I said it before, I don't know where we got cut off, but that doesn't even count keeping your multiple high and getting the cash that you want off the table and controlling the terms, right? So it's a lot more fun going into it, but it's my people. I don't like bullies.
Yeah. And I love that you've done that and created so many systems like these 4 pillars and beyond. You're a turnaround specialist, but you also really specialize in helping people exit for multiple value. So are a lot of the people that come to you, are they feeling like they're ready to exit, or are they still struggling to get profitable and you're coming in helping them with their operations, their culture, the foundation, all the things they need to be able to get stable and then move to that exit planning phase?
That's a great question, Ty. And I wish more people would think this way. The answer is no matter, because again, the business owner, and I don't fault anybody. This is not to shame anybody. It's to say, even myself, there is so much that you don't know. It's not your business to sell your business. It's not what business you're in. You may be great at what you do, but you're entering into a realm which you have very little knowledge of, which means that you are leaning heavily on the trust component for those professionals that you surround yourself with to help you sell. So the average business that comes to us to sell, we have to look them in the eyes and go, you could sell right now. And you're going to get probably, let's say a 3 times multiple, but if you invested the next 18 months to 3 years in a purposeful build out, you're going to get a multiple much higher, 10, 12, 14, upwards of 20 plus times multiple based on building it the right way, putting the work in, becoming a professional and a knowledgeable seller of your business. Sell side advocacy, right? You have buy side, you have sell side. Buy side right now, I think controls the transaction about 98%. Sell side advocacy doesn't even exist really. You have people, brokers, and, you have that team of people that they put on the mask of sell side advocacy, but they're really on the buy side advocacy because they don't get paid unless you actually sell. Right. So sell side advocacy doesn't really exist. And you have to understand where I come from, and the things that I do with the child rescues and the domestic violence and all the other stuff that I do to understand I actually am sell side. I put on a vest and we go to town to protect these business owners because they're the ones that risked. They're the ones that sacrificed their time with their family. They're the ones that put their houses on the market. They're the ones that went through all of the garbage and the lawsuits and the lazy employees and all of the stuff that they have to go through just to go to the end of that and go, my God, I'm one of the 10% that made it to the finish line, and then get their asses handed to them because they don't know the game. Right. So that's what Built to Exit. That's why we built to Exit. I've had a consulting firm. I had a private equity firm of my own. I sold and exited 20 plus of my own businesses back in 2019, 6,800 employees. So I've been, and currently my wife and I, we're in cannabis, we're in medical, we're in tech. We are running, owning, buying, exiting our own bet. We are you. You know what I mean? We are in the industry. So we're having to face down what's going on in AI. We're having to solve problems of, the trade wars and employees and all that kind of stuff. So when people are looking for somebody that's got their back, all they got to do is really check into who I am as a human being and understand that Built to Exit is built for them.
Jason, when you're coming into a company and you're helping them, I know you do a lot of consultative stuff. When you're helping them, what are the first steps you're taking? Are you addressing this foundation, culture, operations, revenue, or like what is your system for coming in and helping them get on the first step of being able to exit for multiple value?
Great question. First thing that we do, my team, we have about 30 folks, and then we've also got a group of people that are certified in my methodology. And the very first thing that we do is we go in and we do what we call the assessment. And there's a version of the assessment that people can take for free at builttoexit.biz if they want to go there. But at the end of the day, we look in the 4 areas that the private equity firm is going to look in, right? We go in and we say, okay, let's look at your relationship to your customer. What's your MRR? What's your lifetime value? Are they all contract? Like, we look through all of the relationship to the customer. Why? Because the buyer is going to be buying the future. You're selling the past, they're buying the future. Therefore, we got to find out what that relationship is to the customer so that we can make that and do that work to build it, to make it exactly attractive to your ideal buyer, and make it as repeatable and predictable as you can possibly make it. That's area number 1. Area number 2 is the clarity of your financials. A lot of people don't, a lot of business owners don't, they like, I know a guy bookkeeping, right? I know a guy bookkeeping. And then if they look at their P&L at all, they look at that bottom number and go, oh, I'm doing good. Oh, I'm doing bad. But mostly they're running the total in their bank account in their head, right? So financial advancement and clarity, very, very important, because in due diligence, that's where they're going to start determining the value of your business. Okay? Don't hide anything. Don't lie about anything. Get your financials in GAAP approved financial status. Now, third thing is the last thing that anybody wants to buy, or the thing that will put you in most control of the terms of the deal, is to make sure that you are not necessary for it to continue to run, which means that you have to build out a C-suite or a management team that can run that company beyond you, or be able to hand over a pile of SOPs and repeatable outcomes and processes and procedures, so that the acquirer can just step in, have no interruption in profit and cash flow. Okay, that's the third area. Fourth area, and this is where the beginning of this relation, the fastest you can get. There's three ways. Most people are like, okay, EBITDA, as is EBITDA. That's how we're going to determine how much we sell for. If you have somebody that's a little bit more advanced, you get into bigger numbers. Now you get owner adjusted EBITDA, where you throw back all the cash and all the trucks and all the stuff that they've been pulling out. The third one, which is really magic, is called a pro forma EBITDA. This is the fourth area that we talk about. Pro forma adjusted EBITDA means that you have gotten to a place where, if you were going to continue this business, you're going to buy that competitor, you're going to buy that competitor, you're going to go on and do that kind of marketing campaign You're going to raise some money so you can go, hire these kind of people. And you put that in a plan that says, here's the predictive growth for the next 5 years. I've already thought about it in my my pro forma adjusted EBITDA. Here you go. Then they go, oh crap, I don't have to spend a year. I don't have to spend $1 million doing due diligence on your bet. You've already thought of all of this stuff. Let me just verify some things and bam, here's your check. Goodbye. We're off and running. Right. And your multiple is going to be rocketed to a higher level because you've thought about all that stuff. So those are the 4 areas that we very first, when we go in, we do kind of a health check on those 4 areas of which ones you need to work on first.
Jason, you mentioned coming in. What is it that B2X does? Do you guys do consultation? Do you have like a course or a program we could go through? Like, what kind of options do I have for you to come in and help?
Yeah, absolutely. 2. There's really only 2. And one of them is to do, we have a course that I built, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. We've never advertised it, by the way. And we don't do the online marketing. We're terrible at it, but it's done really, really well. But there's a course, and if you go to built-to-exit.biz, you can read all about that course. And what that is it's 13 weeks of what we call the foundation. Now, with that course, you also get somebody that's certified in my methodology to meet with you every single week for that 13-week period of time. That stacks, you go through all the stuff, the assessment, you start to stack things right in the right realm. Very, very, very helpful for people. And that's a 13-week. Now, the other way that you can interact is we've got what's called our hit squad, which we drop in, for 3 days, and we do that 13 weeks in 3 days. That's a little bit more money. It's it's like 50 grand plus travel and all that other kind of stuff. But that's for a business that wants to not mess around and get those strategies embedded right away, and then get that 90-day plan from there. And then there's other ways, but until you go through one of those 2, there's other ways to partner with us. We can act as your brokerage. There's the gauntlet training that we do. There's all kinds of ways, but you have to go through one of those 2 doors to get to the next. Like because if you don't do that foundational work, the next step and the next step are not, they don't go together. So we'd rather just not have you as a customer than to have you, going out of sequence. And that's really the magic of what we do is the knowledge. Yes. But the proper sequencing for you is, Keith Cunningham, as I mentioned earlier, he had this saying that said, a business is not a bathrobe. One size does not fit all. And I think a lot of the gurus of today just go, I know this one thing. I read it in a book and it works for everybody like magic. It doesn't.
So as we get ready to wrap up, what is something we didn't talk about we should have really related to one of the biggest mistakes you see entrepreneurs make where they're not exiting for multiple value?
Yeah, it's ego. And again, this is not shaming people, but this, we surround, as a business owner, naturally, we have to have all the answers. Just naturally, it's part of our DNA. And then we get the smart ones among us, and we go, I need to always be asking questions. I need to always be learning stuff. And for the most part, the deals that fall apart are because we think too much of our business. We think too much of our stories. We're not educated on how to tell the story that the buyer actually wants to hear. We tell stories like, I do this all the time. You probably do too, Ty. Like, one of the proud moments in my life, or one of the moments that I refer back to, was when I was building my very first business, and I had a cot in my office where my son used to sleep because I was up doing plans, and then I would have to lay my head down sometimes and get up and get the crews out in the morning, and telling that story to somebody who wants to buy my business is a complete and total waste of time. But it's meaningful to me to make a point that I built this business by doing things other people wouldn't do. The better story is, hey, guess what? Which is my life now. I have total control of my time. You guys want my business? Great. You're going to pay for it. If not, it's making me a lot of money. Right? Those are and you have the stories aligned with it. So I think the biggest thing that I have found and is that at some point in time, I had to put my ego aside and say, I don't know what I don't know. Now I need to go out and find that information. And due diligence is your best friend, right? We overlook LinkedIn all the time. Like, go to people's LinkedIn and see how many recommendations they have. There's ways to check whether people are good at what they do when now everybody has AI and it makes them all look like McKinsey, right? And company. So do your due diligence, drop the ego, ask the question, and get super crystal clear on how much your freedom costs down to the penny, and then build your machine to be able to produce that number.
Love it. Jason, thanks for coming on with us today. If somebody wants to get check the exit health of their business or wants to get started down one of these two paths you mentioned, where should they go? What should they do next?
Yeah, built2exit.biz. Built2exit.biz. It's not the number two, it's TO, built2exit.biz. And there's the free assessment. I think my team's putting it behind a paywall in a couple months or something like that, but go get it. It's free. It'll help you get an idea. And then if you want to check out the rest of the stuff that we do, it's jasonsisneros.com, JASON. Well, you can see it behind me. jasonsisneros.com. Thanks for having me on, brother. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, sharing. I mean, this has been really eye-opening today. So thanks for coming on with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. So listen, if you're watching this, make sure you go to built2exit.biz. That's built2exit, built-to-exit.biz. If you go to built-to-exit.biz, right there on the homepage, you're able to just click to actually see your business's exit health right now. Okay, 100% free for now. It will be behind a paid wall down the road, so you want to get it while you can. And while you're at built-to-exit.biz, go down to the bottom of the page. If you scroll down on the bottom left, you'll find access to all Jason's social media channels as well. So make sure you go to built-to-exit.biz. Make sure you take the exit health assessment, and then make sure you go down and follow on all the social media channels. If you want even more insight than as Jason said, you can see it right, his name right behind him. You can go to hisname.com, which is Jason Sisneros, which is SISNEROS.com. So Jason Sisneros, you're able to get even more information. And again, while you're even on the built-to-exit.biz, a lot of resources. There's a lot of things that you're able to go through and just get a lot of access to information. So take a few minutes while you're there to check those things out, and make sure the first action you take is follow them on social. It's less than a minute, and then you're getting regular updates, all that are relative to you exiting your business for multiple value, any of which could literally mean millions of dollars to your bottom line when you exit. So make sure you check it out at built-to-exit.biz. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care and have a great day.